Elvis was scared. Mafia member Marty Lacker.
He wouldn't admit it openly to people that the Beatles worried him. But he was worried to a certain point because he knew the kind of crap that he had been recording.
But John, Paul, George, and Ringo were die-hard Elvis fans. During their second trip to the States, they actually came to the Presley Bel Air home to meet the king.
All they did was stare at him. I mean, they were intense. They were just staring. And he looked over at me and then looked over to other guys, and this really surprised me. He said, look, if y'all are just going to stare at me all night, I'm going to bed.
He said, I thought we'd maybe sit down and talk a little bit and then maybe jam. And after that, it relaxed them and everything.
And Paul said, hey, Elvis, can I see one of your guitars? And Elvis said, sure, man, go on. So Paul picked up one of the guitars, and there was a bass guitar, which Paul played. And John said, could I pick one up? Elvis said, sure, man, go on. So John picked up a guitar, and they just started strumming. Elvis reached for a guitar, picked up a guitar. And the three of them were sitting there, and they started to jam the same song together. And I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. Here's the Beatles and Elvis playing together. This is outrageous.
The legendary jam session went down unrecorded. Elvis's music was reaching...
One trip or another, we met Elvis. It was one of the highlights of our visit. It was funny, because by the time we got near his house, we forgot where we were going. We were in this Cadillac limousine. And you know what it's like in LA, everything goes round and round and round and round, and then I think we're going along Mulholland.
Who is the hippie that's happening all over our town? Gathering up for chicks with a message that he lays down.
Oh, we had a couple of cups of tea in the back of the car. And by the time we got to Elvis's house, we forgot where we were going. It didn't really matter where we were going.
Bel Air, actually. And, this meet was arranged. We were going to go and see him. I was pretty excited about it all, and we arrived.
We pulled up and there was these big gates, and somebody said, oh yeah, we're going to see Elvis. And then we all fell out, just like in a Beatle cartoon, we all fell out the car, all in hysterics, trying to pretend we weren't silly. And then we went in the house, and there's Elvis sitting on a couch playing a Fender bass, plugged in an amplifier, watching the TV. I was, oh, it's Elvis.
I mean, it was Elvis. He just looked like Elvis.
It was the king, wasn't it? It was Elvis. This is Mr. Hips, hip swiveling man.
Wow, that's Elvis. And he was playing Mohair Sam all evening. He had it on jukebox. He just played it like endlessly. That was like the record of the moment for him. So it was great to see, he's a music fan. He's not just, because that was one of our big records at the moment too.
He had a TV going all the time, which is what I do anyway. And in front of the TV, he had a massive big bass amplifier, Fender bass amplifier, or just a Fender amplifier. And it was a bass with a bass plugged in it. And he's playing bass all the time with the picture off on the TV. So we just got in there and played with him. We all plugged in what was ever around, and we all played and sang.
I never jammed with Elvis at all.
No. John said he did on the
John
interview.
jammed with Elvis.
Yeah, it must have been when we went out of the room.
Secretly at night.
I think it was because he had a bass there. So I thought...
The basement.
Right, well, bass, hey, he's
Ringo
interested
was
in
playing
bass.
football with him there.
Yeah, I played football with Elvis.
And around about 10 or 10:30, Priscilla was brought in.
I think she had a long thing on and a tiara.
I've got this picture of her, as a sort of Barbie doll with, gingham, kind of purple gingham, and a gingham bow in her very beehive hair.
I don't remember. I spent most of the party trying to suss out from his gang if anybody had any reefer.
Well, I think it wouldn't have mattered to me if she was there, just, because it was him I came to see, and I don't remember the boys he had with him.
you know, all his gang, the Memphis Mafia, whatever they call them, all those guys.
You know, he just was surrounded by these sycophants. I'm going to go to the loo now. Okay, we'll all go to the loo with you. You know, it was just so strange, and I was just so angry because he wasn't making any music. He was not doing what he should have been doing.
We were asking him about this, just making movies and, you know, not doing any personal appearances or TV. And he seems to enjoy it. I think he enjoys making movies so much. Because we couldn't stand not doing personal appearances, you know. We'd get bored quickly. He says he misses it a bit, you know. He's just, no, he was great, you know, it's just how I expected him.
And it just sort of faded out. You know, you couldn't get close. You know, it's not like we could have become good friends. It was impossible.
We weren't buddies or anything, you know. But it was really nice. It was really. He was a nice guy. He was very slim, and you know, he was great. He was really good. I'm glad I met him. It was great. It was great. You know, it was one of the great meetings of my life.
I mean, the saddest part is now, years and years later, we found out that he tried to have us banished from America because he was very big with the CIA and everything, and that's very sad to me. That he felt so threatened, you know, that he thought, like a lot of people, that we were bad for the American youth.
So why was Elvis going to Washington? Because he wanted to become a U.S. Deputy Marshal with the DEA. I swear to God.
And this is in spite of the fact that Elvis had been popping pills for years. He'd been introduced to speed when he was in the Army.
Pills wasn't drugs to Elvis, because he had script, you know, from a doctor, prescription. Drugs was pot, LSD, all them drugs made popular by the damn Beatles.
Although he didn't talk about it in public, Elvis didn't like the Beatles. He thought they'd come over here and stolen his throne.
So despite being the most successful recording artist in the history of the world, what Elvis really wanted was to be a government agent, like James Bond. Elvis, 00 Elvis.
Already a deputy sheriff in Memphis and in Palm Springs, Elvis, unbeknownst to anyone, had secretly scheduled a meeting for Monday morning with the U.S. Deputy Narcotics Director, hoping to convince him to appoint Elvis an actual United States Deputy Marshal in drug enforcement.
Excuse me. Melissa? Yeah. Would you be sweet enough, honey, to give me a cup of water? I need to wash down some medicine.
Certainly, Mr.
Burroughs.
Okay.
Oh, pardon me, but aren't you one of those, you know, rock and
I'm undercover.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were one of those groups, you know, like the Beatles.
Lady, the Beatles couldn't polish my guitar strap.
Thank you.
"90 minutes later, Elvis arrived in Washington. Goes in to meet the President of the United States. If what you're about to see didn't happen exactly this way, it should have.
Come in, Mr. President. Or may I call you Elvis? Elvis? Well, come on
in. Mr. President, this is a real honor, sir, to meet you. Whew. I mean, well, you don't know what this means to me, you know. A poor boy from Tennessee here in the Oval Office.
It's not exactly oval. It's more roundish.
Oh.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, sir.
You'll have a seat.
Oh, thank you very much.
I enjoyed your letter, though a few of the words were hard to read. But I'm glad to see you love your country and you want to help out on this drug thing.
Oh, I want to do whatever I can to help America, sir. I'm no Jane Fonda.
You mean Hanoi Jane?
Yeah.
You know, I believe in free speech, but up to a point. Now, her father portrayed great Americans like young Abe Lincoln and Wyatt Earp and Mr. Roberts and so forth. And this is how she pays him back.
Well, it's all the fault of the Beatles, Mr. President. Our Linkletter was right, man. They ruined America. Well, they come over here, you know, and they made a lot of money, and they got everybody taking drugs.
It was the Beatles?
Yes, sir. Well, they had all the long hair and the funny accents, and people fell for that.
Well, you know, the Kennedys fooled the people the same way. The hair, the accents, and the rest. I kept telling Jack Kennedy, it's pronounced Cuba, not Cuba. But maybe you're right. Maybe I should add the Beatles to my enemies list.
You an enemies list, sir?
No, of course not. I mean, I might consider such a list, but that would be wrong. You know, Elvis